Good morning, everybody. 8:25 a.m. It is March 2nd. Welcome to my channel. Of course, the whole news over the weekend is U.S. and Iran, Israel, Iran having retaliatory attacks. Crude is up over 7.5% right now, and the markets are down. They're gapping down. However, they're recovering. Okay. Now, anytime any kind of geopolitical, any kind of war kind of stuff goes on, market initially just goes down. Okay. But these are temporary. This is just temporary stuff that happens. Crude goes up. Now, of course, if crude goes to $100 a barrel or something like that, that's not going to be good. Okay. But however, whenever these stuff happens, you usually get markets go down initially. And what does that mean? That means the market's going to price it in. Okay. So now that we know this stuff going on, it's already priced in. Could we fall a little farther? Sure. But that's basically how it works. This kind of stuff doesn't usually leave long lasting impressions on the market. Remember Ukraine and Russia, right? There was a little bit where it was like a little crazy, and then eventually it priced in the market, and then it just, you know, went away. So generally, that's how it happens. That's how it works. Okay. Friday was the last trading day of February, and really didn't do much. Okay. You had an initial gap down, but then eventually the market wasn't really that weak. So it couldn't go down too much farther. And we wound up just kind of like closing, honestly, pretty much at the highs, which is kind of crazy. Okay. But that doesn't matter now because we gapped down. All right. We're not by those ranges right now. And our market basically has doji candles for the daily session since the overnight in futures, which, if you don't know, a doji just means indecision. Okay. Right now, the market's opening up where right they're at right now where they opened up Sunday night. Okay, so kind of a doji for the morning. Okay, now let's get right into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steve Gonzalez. Use market profile and bond profile to find structure in the markets along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. Also use market internals. That's my bread and butter. Anchored VWAPs. Okay, little ICT in there. My weekly expected move indicator that I give for free on my Discord. That's what I bring to you. All right, now, if you want to join me every day, you will subscribe and set an alert. Do this every morning. Give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I always give you the long and short trade scenarios of the Nasdaq and the ES futures. All right, if you want more in-depth coverage, you are going to join my Discord. Okay, that is Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay, I will never steer you wrong. Now, over the weekend, just for my Discord, been doing some changes. All right, I want to make sure, even for myself, I'm going to start tracking stats, meaning like my calls on the market, my scenarios, my trade setups. So, what I'm going to start to do is you're going to notice in my live market updates, okay, you're going to notice that once I establish like the macro theme, then we go to the intraday. I'm going to start posting like hashtags, okay, and with my agent, my AI agent, and basically send a hashtag, and then boom, pop up in the channel. We'll have the current market environment and the setups that I'll be looking for. I think that's really good to have up there because if I'm live, right, and I'm live almost every day, and I'm talking constantly, I'm not posting a lot, okay, but this will be able to have the post come in there, okay. So I think that's going to be a good asset, and then I'm going to have my AI agent track my trades versus my scenarios versus what I said the setups were that day. So I'm very looking forward to that for myself as well, because everybody always wants data. I can remember stuff, but data might tell me something different. Okay, so that's what's going to be coming. Let's go right into watch list here. You can see this tension, the Iran and the U.S. and Israel is definitely. We're going to have a lot of volatility today. Okay, VIX is at a 23. It's up 16%. Crude's up 7.80%. Monster move in crude. Generally not good for the markets, okay? Gold, again, geopolitical, flock to gold. Metals up 3.39. Silver's up 1.16, back almost, it's at almost $95 an ounce. 10-year yield is back up, okay? So people are selling bonds this morning, interesting. Dollar's up 0.84. Ethereum's up 0.60, Bitcoin's up 0.37. 30-year bonds are being sold, okay? ES down a percent. Dow down a percent, Russell down over 1.16%, and the Nasdaq down 1.20%. Okay, very tricky, very tricky. It's a Monday, all right. It's a Monday, so let's move over to the Mag 7 Plus here. Boeing is getting love this morning. GE getting a little love this morning. Okay, we're gonna go with the over 1.5% to just talk about here. Amazon down 1.81, AMD down 2.15, Coinbase down 2.19, Tesla down 2.29, Google down 2.38, and Broadcom, the laggard, down 2.43. Top sectors, there you go. Exxon up 4.38%, Palantir up 4.10. Remember, they have a lot of government contracts. Chevron up 3.23, the mining stock 2.52 up. Now, who's lagging down in this list? Caterpillar, United Healthcare, Visa down 1.29, Salesforce down 1.43, Qualcomm down 1.55, Uber down 2.28, and the loser, the laggard, is Oracle down 3%. 3%. Okay? Now, sectors. Energy is the only bright spot, up 3.90. Okay? Now, if you want to go to like the bottom, right? Communications down 0.92. Technology, that's your Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, down 1.30. Financials, down 1.32. Those are the two heavyweights. Okay. Discretionary, another heavyweight, down 1.82. And semiconductors, which is inside technology, I always like to see what they're doing. The laggard, down almost 2%. Like I said, this war stuff usually temporarily makes the market go down to price it in. Now, like I said, if crude starts going to 80 to 90 to $100 a barrel, that won't be good. Okay, that won't be good. That's why they call it liquid gold. Almost, there's so many things that is made out of oil, so that's not going to help anybody at $100 a barrel. But it's not there yet, right? And you just don't know. Okay, moving on. We're going to go right into the economic calendar. Okay, we do have some data this week that's important. All right, today, all right, I'm probably not going to do much, depending, all right, if I see some unbelievable setup. But 10 a.m. you have ISM, PMI, and employment at 10 a.m. Okay, for this week, the only thing I really care about is Friday, non-farm payrolls and unemployment. That's it. Okay, some Fed speak. Okay, but that's really the big things. Earnings wise, I don't believe there's much anymore. I think it's Costco, but that doesn't really move markets. Okay, so we're gonna move on. All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna look at. We already know that the obviously those tensions that are moving the markets. Okay, just let's see if there's any other news here. We already know this. I don't need to go over that. All right, let's just go back to usually a little stock summary here. If it's not there, we'll move on. Let's see here. I don't really see a little summary here. That's fine. Everything is down. It's not like all right, we're going to go right into, we'll go into a little more news, then we'll look at the Trump schedule today. Looks like Fed races to adapt AI promises and pitfalls for jobs inflation. Looks like Amazon's reports an AWS outage after UAE data center struck by objects. What else? Tesla gains market in France, Norway in February. And is there any other news that I'm not talking about? No. Nope, nope, nope. Now, let's look at the Trump tracker. Let me just refresh this. Let's see. Monday, March 2nd. Let's see what Trump's got on the docket here. President participates in executive time at 8 a.m. 11 a.m. President participates in a Medal of Honor ceremony. 1:30. President participates in signing time. 2 p.m. The president participates in a policy meeting. Okay. Not much that I see there. All right. What else do we have today? I think that's going to wrap it up. Let's just go over some breadth charts. All right. I actually have. I'm going to put them up here. I actually have the charts actually. So we'll just check in the breadth for a sec. Give me 1 second while I pull that up. So we're going to start off with the bullish percent of the S&P, and it's still just not giving us much. Okay, so right here we have 62%, or let's round it, 63% of stocks in the S&P 500 are on buy signals. Okay, that's probably would change after today, but that's how we left off on Friday. Kind of like, just like I said, very middling. Now this is the breadth. Look at this, kind of lines up with this. Stocks, percentage of stocks over above their 50-day moving average, 62%, 63%. Very interesting. Okay. Now this is the NYSE exchange, 60%. So look at that. NDX, 60% of buy signals, right? And the technology, that's the only one that's at 43%. Now this gets a little more zoned into software, into tech. NASDAQ is broad tech. This is a little more. So you can see that's where the market has been dying a little bit. It went down here to a 25. That was around the beginning of February. That was where it kind of got a little oversold. That meant 25% of stocks are on buy signals. Then we got a little lift, right? What does this do from here? I don't know. AI has been causing a lot of panic, specifically Anthropic, Claude, and then I don't know if you guys are aware, but like Trump just said all government agencies cannot use Anthropic anymore. And they just signed some deal with OpenAI. So kind of crazy. That happened. So this is the breadth. All right, we can move on. I just wanted to show you guys that. So that's not going to mean as much because we're gapping down, but still that's where we are, right? The market's not, besides the tech, software, we're middling. We're not doing much. We're really just not doing much. All right. Now, if we want to look at, let's look at the internals. I'm going to do a little recap of the internals here. Okay, the internals for Friday were not weak. Okay, they started off because we gapped down a tiny bit weak, but they pushed up and then just were middling. You can see tech was up, financials was the laggard. Look at healthcare, up 2.21. Okay. Now this is the interesting for technology. Infotech was up 0.32 from the open, but at the exchange level, a little weak. But when you gap down, this is where these numbers are going to be a little inflated because these are from the previous day's close. Okay, but the S&P 500, look at that, pretty much middling. So is the Nasdaq 100. Remember, this is the markets we look at. S&P 500, that's the ES or the SPY or the SPX. Nasdaq 100, that's your QQQ, your Nasdaq futures. Okay, they are only based on 100 stocks, the Nasdaq and S&P 500, not exchange level. Okay, very important to notice the distinction between that. Okay, S&P 500 is what everybody looks at. You don't look at the NYSE or the Nasdaq Composite. You don't really look at that because that's every stock on those each exchanges. Okay, so nothing to see there, and that makes sense, right? Look at the price action. Okay, that's the price action. All right, let's move on to daily charts. And there's not much to dive into. And I keep talking about this. Is that we haven't done anything since November, I think 25th, in the markets. Really have not done anything. So that's why which makes this market a little difficult to trade, not execute trades, not read. I am reading that thing every day like it should be read. Okay, but look what we did. Okay, on the Friday, we opened here, pushed down. Now, remember what I said about the look above and fail? I thought we'd get to 680, but we still kind of in futures. I have to show you in futures. The balance lows, which were kind of here, did hit it. So remember, look above and fail. You should go to the other side of balance. Now we didn't fully go down on 680 like I thought we would. Okay, we are there now though. So that's where the SPY is now, 679.43. We are down, gapping down, and we're right here. So we're below this balance. Okay, let's look at futures. So in futures, remember what I said. Okay, you'll see it better in an hourly chart. Okay, but you had these equal lows here, right? We touched that on Friday, right? And that's what I said. That's kind of balanced lows. You could have looked at like these 2 days have 2 different lows, right? So we're down here now. We're at previous, well, now we're a new month, right? So this is February's lows. Okay, February's lows. Trying to see here. That's not February's lows. Interesting. Why that's not? Oh no, I'm sorry. That's February's lows because we're in a new month. I'm getting confused in my own chart here. So every time I have levels that are lining up with the current candle, it's always the previous. So these whites become February's lows, which is correct. So right there. Okay. So that's February's lows. That orange means last week's lows. So we're right now opening up below last week's range. Okay, but look what we swept. We swept this swing low. And look, we came all the way back inside, not February, but inside January's lows. Okay? So this is very tricky. And you can see the doji that I was talking about earlier. Okay? It makes it a little tricky. Remember, the war's temporary, and we swept this swing low. Right? We're not back inside yesterday's range, but that level right there is very important for today. 68.28. If you can close an hourly candle inside here, that's a lot of shorts that can get their faces ripped off. So we have to see. Okay. All right. Look at the Qs. Remember, Qs have been relatively weaker. Okay. Look above and fail. I thought we'd go down to the 600s. We did not. But guess where we are now? 599.60s. Right here. Right about here. We're right at these lows right now. Okay. So look what we did. We couldn't make new weekly ranges. We went back inside the prior week. Okay. Back inside the prior week. And I just showed you where we are now. We're down here. All right. Let's look at futures. So notice we took out all this balance lows now. They're gone. But look, very interesting. Look at the Nasdaq back inside last week's range. This is very significant. Now, this could be where people short again, or you swept. Did you sweep this swing low? You did not, but you took all of this out. All longs that were here, you took them out, and now look, market's here. Okay. A doji candle as well. Now, if we were down here, I'd be like, whoa. But we're not, right? So very important. All right, let's move on. We're going to go to hourly charts. Okay. I'm going to start off with our ES. Get my marker out. All right. Let's look at this together. Okay, so what did I talk about before? Remember I said the balance rules? Look above, fail, expected move. Now you had two different balance lows here that you could have said. It could have been these or this little pack. Look what we did. Remember I said the expected move when you look above and fail and you go back. This is where I regret my short that I didn't do on Thursday p.m. That should have been a short. Because I said the expected move to be where? Look what we did right there. Look across the balance lows. That was completed. That was taken care of. Okay, then we opened up right here on Sunday night, 6 p.m., gap down. Filled the gap and then sold off again. Okay, now this swing low, okay, which I'm going to signify this as this balance area. Notice for this ray here, I put a dashed line because I want to know if we can close above that level. And notice, okay, this is where it's middling, and that's why you have a doji. See this daily candle doji? And the last 4 hours is a doji? There's indecision here, and that makes sense because look, if you just go by this range, you went up, right? You came all the way down and came back up, and we're just middling here. Okay, now you can see swing lows from the past were violated. One's here, one's here, and where do we struggle? At that dashed swing low, right there. Okay, because if we start accepting, like we get a nice close, we did have one here, but it got sold off. But if we, come down here again and and hold, this could really push back up. Okay. Now, can there be a move down low? Sure. We really don't know. You can see I signified a bearish FEG here. That's been honored. And a bullish FEG here. That's been honored. But we're right here. You can just see it in the candles. 4 hours and the daily. All getting congested right here. That will be a battle, and it's Monday. But the volatility will be very, very, tempo would be very, very violent. It should be. We should be a negative gamma. So all that, okay? So, you know what? Let me get rid of this one because I want to see that weekly level. So that's last week. Is that last week's lows? Yeah, it should be last week's lows. No, that's not last week's lows. That's last week's lows right here. So that dashed line is actually last week's lows. That orange. So that orange marker. Okay, so that's really important to look at. Like I said, very important to look at. Who knows what it does? So like I said, it's Monday, and this is not telling us much of anything. Okay, but we did sweep a lot of price from the past. Okay, this could be priced in, and we could maybe move up to here today. I don't know. Okay, I really don't. Let's go with the NASDAQ. Now remember, NASDAQ is already inside the previous week's range, or it was, which is right there. That's last week's lows. Right here. Okay? That's that dash line as well. And the market was just there. Right, that's actually there right now. That's why that's a battle. Okay? Because if we could accept back inside this range, then that's a sweep. And then that's a manipulation leg, and then you're going to expect moving. Look at the poor structure here. Okay? This is very poor. So if we come up, boom, hold one of these, you could see yourself back at the ultimate balance level. Okay? There is a lot of demand below here. Notice the green boxes. Okay, so I'm going to be a little on pause to want to short this market. Okay? Today, my goal is to just sit back, really sit back in this market. Okay. What I've noticed with my own um, trading is I've been nailing my execution when I enter a trade, and I get excursions, and then I either get break even, or when I'm like, okay, I think this is going to work, I go to my full stop. I stay my full stop, and I'm getting stopped or break evens constantly. It's been this has been happening a ton. It's very frustrating to see your trade work and then either hit your break even, and even it's not just work a little bit, work a lot of bit, and like you see your open P&L go up, and I'm like, oh, nice, this should roll, and it doesn't, right? And what I've determined over the weekend, okay, is in all honesty, am I trading? I had to ask myself, are these setups that I'm trading like unbelievable? Like I'm like telling my community like this should happen because of this, like I get excited. Most of them I would say no. Okay. And meaning they're not like C setups. I would say they're B minus, right? But not like, oh, this is worth my risk. Like that. Like definitive, no. They're more or less like, the market's kind of giving me mixed messages. This could happen. That's how I'm looking at it lately. And that's why the market isn't hard to read. It's should I be executing when I have those mixed messages? And that's the whole crux of trading, okay? Is don't you want to feel when your analysis is correct that you made money, that you were deemed correct, okay? That's the difficulty of trading. It's really difficult because I could have the receipts that every morning you can go back to my pre-market scenarios and you'll see, oh, Steve was right on that. Steve was right on that scenario. Steve was right on that. He was right on that. Intraday, when you listen to me, oh, it did what you said. Yeah, it did what I said, but there was no setup. And how annoying is that? That's very annoying. Wears me down a little bit because I'm like this. Here we go. Like let's say the move happens and it happens right off the open, which I thought I wanted to trade. I have no chance at it unless I chase it. Or I'm getting ready to short and it just falls out of bed without a setup for me. And now I'm just sitting there going, well, I thought that would be the trade, but it didn't set up. This is how that market's been. Okay? It just gets annoying because it's like, man, I'm right in analysis, but I don't have like a trade to show for it. But I'm right. Right? And this is the only profession I guess you get where you could be right and have nothing to show for it. And then what happens is your mind opens up to then go, okay, that was my setup. Now you're probably willing to take a poorer setup where you're not as confident to feel like, maybe your ego needs to be right. And then that's the trap. And then I'll get in a trade, it starts to work, but I know why it's not working most times. Well, I mean, it's mixed. I'm not really done. There was a couple last week. There was one in fact with one of my good friends where I was like live live, and I was saying, "Ooh, Nvidia hits this. If it wicks, you should see this. We're coming into like a balance area right here in the ES and the Nasdaq. If it sweeps this should go to the other side of the balance." And as I'm speaking, I'm saying this is probably a short right here. Well, my friend took a short. And I was like, well, all that stuff that I was saying was worth probably the risk for me to short it. I didn't. But he did, and he made the money. And he goes, well, don't you say on your channel, let me be your indicator. I'm like, yes, I do. Okay? So when I hear myself say this, that, this should happen, that's probably where I should be putting my risk on. Because it's worth the risk. I've seen this before. It's all lining up, right? Otherwise, it's like, what's been happening lately in the markets is I'll say, okay, tech's ripping up, but it's in huge supply now. Even though it's strong, it's going to have a hard time pushing through this. So that's the crux there, right? Because when tech is up, you don't really want to short that thing. But then it's pushing up into an area where I don't think it's going to go much higher. So before I'm going to get into some scenarios here, I just want to make sure you guys understand. That's why a short in that area, what I'm saying, ooh, it's in heavy supply. It's in heavy resistance area in ES, in NASDAQ. But tech is driving the market. So when I short, if I'm scalping, I'll make money. But if I'm looking for a nice smooth move back, it's not going to be smooth. So in that scenario, I probably shouldn't be shorting, even though you could get a move down quickly, but the market will get bought up, and then you'll be in the trade going, okay, I got to move, but that was more of a scalp move. So that's what I'm seeing, that I've been seeing in the markets. Like, I am doing a trade, it works because I'm reading the price action, and then you don't get the follow through. It happens maybe 3 times later. The follow through happens, but then even that one isn't set up right. It just falls. And then you're left with, well, I thought that would move down, and now I was in it, I'm out break even, and now it went without me, but with no setup. So now I had nothing, I couldn't even do anything. And that's the worst part. Like, you know what's happening, but you didn't have a setup. Normally, that's okay. But when it happens time after time after time after time after time, you want to do something. You want to feel like you did something. And then what do? You might pull a trigger on something when you're like, I know this is not my A, but I just want to feel good. That's the trap, right? And that's what we all do. And that's what makes trading hard. Well, let's get into this now. Market profile, volume profile. Okay. Here we see clear as day. Our gap. Okay. Very clear. There is Friday's lows. Okay. There's last week. Remember I said that's important. 68.28. This is where you want to accept price back in. Okay. Now, this is where we opened up in the overnights. In the open. We're below that. Okay. We're below that. So, what am I going to look for? Right? So, gap rules kind of in play. So, let's make this a little better. So, that's your gap fill. Okay. We know I talked about this 68.28. That's what I'm really looking for. Okay. That's what I'm really looking for. Now, you can see too, we have a very balanced profile. That's the doji. Okay. So a balanced profile will also look like in candlesticks a doji. Okay. Now, what I think might happen, just on my experience, all right, is we'll get right into it scenarios. Okay. So I don't want to waste anybody else's time. We'll get right into it. Okay. So, I am going to talk about a long. Okay. Now, we pushed down. We had some sellers, right? Right here. Broke a previous week's lows, and now we're kind of in this no man's land. Okay. What I want to see is either this little swing low here on 68.04. Let's sweep that out. Come down. Make a higher low here. And let's say tech's leading, or let's say the market, it looks like a little strong off the open. That's probably your long. Targeting 68.28. Right? Last week's lows. Trying to fill the gap at around 68.40. Right? Now, gravy on top is if you bust through, you actually have a poor high at the overnight highs. Try to target ultimate balance at 68.80. Now, if you want to wait till we push up back inside the range, okay, and look to get the discount, some pullback to buy. Okay, that's what I'm looking at there. Now, as far as shorts go, this to me, it just feels like it's. I just feel like the market is gonna make us feel, oh my God, war off the open. It happens a lot. You'll see it and it will rip. If you want to take that, I just this is what usually happens. We'll open and we'll push down. Okay, that's not a scenario that I'm gonna trade. Okay, what I could see happening is this. Okay, push down like this. You get bought up. Now this is where internals come into play. Let's say we get bought up here, and you come all the way back up into last week's lows, right there. If that fails, right, and I'll go, uh-oh, that could be a possible short targeting overnight lows and possibly lower. I'm going to be very patient if there's a short. You even have a supply up here. You could even maybe tiptoe into the supply, come back in. And the whole thing is rejecting last week's lows. That's what you want to really see. Do we reject last week's range? And internal start to weaken. Okay? Then you can take all these longs out. Very difficult right now of a read. Definitely difficult. This is not easy. It's Monday. It's going to be very volatile. You have 10 a.m. news. Okay? So sit back and collect data. That's probably what I'm doing. NASDAQ here. We're also gapping down. NASDAQ has demand zones here that is holding. Okay? So let's look at the NASDAQ. Remember the level to look at? Same like the ES. So what are we looking at here? There is last week's lows. You'd like to see price except above there. There's the gap fill around your 24780 zeros. Okay, you have two bearish FEGs up there that got honored. You got a bullish FEG you're in right now. This is why I'm a little hesitant to be like, ooh, I love the short. Okay, because we held the prior week's lows right here. This is last week's lows. This is a prior week's lows. Okay, we dug down, right? We came all the way up to where? Ultimate balance, sold off, buyers came in. Now, how many shorts are still in this? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. So, right off the bat, like I said, I'm going to start with the long scenario. All right. So, there's demand down here. Makes me hesitant to go short. I don't like shorting in demand. It doesn't usually work out that good. Okay. So, swing low here. Right there. Bullish FEG right there. Demand right here. I want to see what we do with the overnight low. Okay. I could have probably put that in the ES, but I'll put it in the NASDAQ. All right. So, if I'm going to look at a long, one or two things can happen. Either we come down like this and do this. Sweep those overnight lows. And then what do? We close above it, back inside the overnight range. Maybe put another a higher low in here, discount, and you can ride that puppy and ride it up to where? Last week's lows, 24667. That could be it. I don't know. Okay? But what I do know is if you hold it and you take out that swing high right there, you're going to take a little ride, boop, 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 probably back to 249s. Back to ultimate balance, back to the warm, snuggly bed. Okay? Because look at that move. We sold off, pushed back up, sellers came in, put a stake in the ground, buyers came in. Do sellers really have the upper hand here? I don't know, but we'll find out. Okay, there's a big demand here. Big. Okay, and we actually hit the 200-day moving average in futures, and I'll show you that in a second. All right, now short side. Again, what? That's not what I wanted to do. Let's see this. Okay, short side. Same thing as the ES. I want to see either a push down or a push up, but I want to see how it react with last week's lows 24667. You have a bearish FEG here. Maybe you sweep that, whoop, go back inside the range, and that can get and punish these longs. Now you target the overnight lows 24477s, right? But then there's a lot of demand here. So I don't know how far you go. I don't. Now if the market just gets weak, okay, you only have to punish these longs. Like I said, I'm not seeing right now where we just fall apart. Okay, unless internal show me different. Internal show me different. Of course, we can come up here also to gap fill, sweep, come back out, and that's your short. Okay. Not easy. Like I said, we're kind of in a doji. Not easy at all. Let's look at the just wanted to show you the daily charts here. This is the ES, just to show you the sheer trading that's been happening. Look at this range. We have done nothing forever. Okay, most traded price of the rolling years right here. Look at the amount of trading volume that's happened here in that profile. Look, we haven't hit the 200 day, and look at the swing low. This has not been violated. This was swept. Now we're back. Remember, I just want to see if we can close back inside this range. That could be a whoop. Okay, I don't know. Now, this is a swing high now. After that, look above and fail. Let's see what we do. Okay, let's real quickly go over the daily chart in the NASDAQ. Here's our NASDAQ. NASDAQ, look at that most traded price of the year right here. But notice it has an excess to the top. ES does not. Okay, and look, one touch to the 200-day moving average, two touch, three touch, and we're right above it. I don't know what's going to happen, right? We came up here, hit the 100-day moving average, 50-day moving average, and that was your look above and fail. And boom. And we're making this range. Okay? And how the market works, right? This is the range. You can see the high volume node in this area. We just have to see what we do. Do we do this and go to this high volume node, which would be this area? Or do we come up through here and boom, go to back to the most traded price of the year? Don't know, but that's how our market moves. It only bases trends, bases trends, bases trends. We don't know what it's going to do, but that's how the market moves. It only could do two things: base and trend. Okay? So let's find out today. All right, now hopefully everybody enjoyed that analysis. Give me a thumbs up or a like. That would be much appreciated. And as always, hopefully you join me every morning. I do this, give you the market story, economic calendar, technical analysis, and a long and short trade scenarios of NASDAQ and ES futures. As always, I'll be live today in my Discord, Confluence Trading. Come join. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay, now everybody, I hope you guys have a great trading day. Remember, no trades to trade. Stay green. It will be very volatile today. Very volatile. And if you're in my Discord, you'll get the gamma flip points for this week, for this month. Those are very crucial levels. Okay, that's in my gamma levels channel in my server. Okay, they will be posted. All right, so everybody, if I don't see you in my Discord, I'll see you guys.